what's up guys? My name is Dan Coconati, and today we're going to be taking a look at the song called The Anthem by Good Charlotte. Now this song is in standard tuning, so that means your strings are going to be E, A, D, G, B, and E. So get yourself a tune, and then we're going to start on this lesson. Alright, The Anthem by Good Charlotte. This is just a classic old school 2000s pop punk anthem. And look at that, it's called The Anthem, right? So, alright, the song starts on, we got some power chords going here. So 4th fret power chord, alright, on your A string. Okay, and for those that don't know what a power chord is, it's gonna be your root and your 5th, okay? So that's a 4th fret on the A, and then a 6th fret of the D. Now you can also get in your 6th fret of the G to make it just a little bit brighter of a chord, but you're okay with just the root and the 5th for that chord. So again, 4th fret power chord on the A string to start. So you got, okay? And now you're gonna take that shape, drop it down now just to the lower string or your E string. So you got, again, exact same shape, just dropping that down. So 4th fret, and a 6th fret, okay? And then again, if you want to add that extra with the pinky, the 6th fret there as well on the D. So, first chord, 2nd chord. Now, take that shape, slide that down 2 frets, okay? So now you're on your 2nd fret of the E, 4th fret of the A, and again, if you want to use the pinky, 4th fret of the D. So, first 3 chords. Next, you're actually gonna just slide right back up to that 2nd chord. So we got, okay, so you're just sliding right back to that 2nd chord that we learned already. And then you're gonna actually go back to the 1st chord again. Okay, so really you're just kind of using those 3 chords and then you're literally gonna go right back up the scale. So the intro altogether now is, and then you hold that 2nd fret power chord, okay, of the E string there. And then you get into this. Okay, so what is this? So this is kind of like our intro riff. If you want to call it that, you know, I guess there's different terms. Let's just call it the intro riff, right? So this is a 4th fret that we're starting, so the exact same chord that we learned earlier, right? So it's the 4th fret power chord, okay? But, so it's starting, so you got a 1, and you're kind of doing a little palm muting in between, you know? So you're just ever so slightly, and then pressing down on that off beat there. Okay, but then we get into so what is that? We got so instead of playing the full power chord, we're gonna take our ring finger actually off that string, and then we're gonna play just these 2. And we're gonna take that shape and just go up the fretboard. So again, it starts with, and then, so that little bit is gonna be, we're on our 4th fret of the A, okay, and then you're not playing this, you're muting this D string and then getting that 6th fret of the G. Now I use my pinky when I do these. It's just a little bit more comfortable for me personally. You can do it with the ring and just kind of hold the shape of that power chord, but again, you're muting that in between. So you should just be getting the, so actually I think I skipped those other 2 chords. So okay, first chord, so we got the power chord, right? So it's, and then you go to the 4th fret and then the 6th fret, and you're muting this, so that's the next chord. And then slide that shape up. Now you're on a 6th fret, mute that in between, 8th fret then of the G. So, and then you finish finally on that high chord of the 8th fret of the A, muting that in between, and then 10th fret of the G. So, okay? And that idea is actually going to stay very similar for this kind of whole riff there. So that's the first little part. It's... Okay, then same idea, but instead of playing this chord first, we're going to play that second chord now. So that's a 4th fret power chord. So 4, 6, and again 6 if you want to get it in. So first little bit is second. Now we're on that new power chord. Same exact strumming pattern. You're just kind of muting and then pressing down on the fourth beat or whatever, and then you get the second part is okay. So now we're just going down. We're still keeping that octave shape going on this. So now we're on that 9th fret here. Okay, and then you got an 11, and then slide that down to an 8 and a 10, and then finally you're gonna finish on the 6 and the 8 for the chord. So. Right? Then the next little bit, exact same idea. So we're going to play that 2nd fret power chord of our E. So you got 2nd and a 4th. Okay. And then you got, so then it's 3rd fret, skip, 5th fret on the G. So, and then slide that up, 4th fret, skip, 6th fret, and then up to the 6th. 6, skip, 8, right? So, and when I'm saying skip, all I'm talking about is you're not playing that in between string. In this case, it is our D. We're just muting that. So you're just playing these octaves, right? And just sliding that up, all right? And let's see. All together, we got this right now going. So we got. Okay, so now we're on the final chord, right? So now we're on 4th fret power chord. So 4th fret power chord, we got right here, 4th fret, 6, and a 6. So what is that? That is 6th fret, muting that in between, 8th fret, all right? So 6 and an 8, and then 4th fret of the A, 8th fret, or excuse me, 6th fret of the G, and then finally finishing right there on that 3rd fret, and then the 5th fret of that G. So those chords together is just going to be okay. So all together, the whole riff, and I'm going to play this really slow, so hopefully you can follow along, and it's just all making sense. But the whole riff is going to sound like this. All right, so let's take a look at the verse of this song. So again, we're just, so those 3 chords, that's actually gonna stay consistent throughout this entire song. So the verse, we're literally gonna be using these exact same chords again. So the verse, it is the exact same thing that we learned for our introduction. So it's just palm muting now, the first chord. So we got, all right, so that's a 4th fret power chord on the A. So you got 4, 6, 6, all right? And you're palm muting. Now, if you don't know what a palm mute is, it's where you're literally resting the palm on the, on just the top of your strings and just getting that real mean sound. So again, you're just resting the palm on your strings there and trying to just mute those strings there. So this is all palm muted in the verse, but first chord, again, is that 4th fret power chord on the A. So, okay, take that shape down now, go into the 4th fret of the E, same exact shape, you're just going down one string, so. Okay, now you're gonna go back to that first chord again. So then we go down to that 2nd fret power chord there. So that's a 2, 4, and a 4. Okay, and then again, back to that first chord. So we kind of just build this up. So we go back to that first chord, and then just go back down again to the 4th fret power chord on the E. And then we build up, you know, you're palming this originally, but then, and then you get into a little, okay, so again, that final chord is a 2nd fret power chord, okay, on the E string, and that's 2nd fret, 4th fret, 4th fret. So when you're building this up though, you're gonna get into this, it's just a little riff, and all you're doing is you're playing the 4th fret, okay? So it's, I mean, you're playing the chord, but you can do the individual then and just do a, okay, so that's just a 2nd fret of the E, 4th fret next of the A, 6th fret then of the D, and then you finish on the 4th fret of the A. So, and then you're gonna just continue with the, right? So after you get that done, we go into this little pre-chorus section of, all right, so what are we doing here? We're sticking with our power chord mentality. So we're gonna play a 1st fret power chord of the A, and then you got a 3rd fret and that D. So that's just 1st fret power chord of the A. Next chord, 2nd fret power chord. Now you're on your E string though. So again, 2nd and then the 4th. Okay. And then next chord, 4th fret power chord of the A though. So 4th fret power chord is 4, 6, and then if you want, you can get that 6 with the pinky. Okay, so that's the first 3. And then it literally is going to repeat the exact same. So again, do it again. But instead of going up here, you're gonna just take that shape on the 2nd fret and just go right back and slide up to the 4th fret power chord of the E. So this is the 2nd time around. It's, and then you add in those palm mutes as well to this, just, you know, kind of building up the momentum. So, and then we get right into this chorus. Okay, so the chorus, we're sticking with those same chords, right? So we got that 4th fret power chord of our A, and then we jump on down to the 4th fret power chord of the E. Okay, so we got, and then we go on down, 2nd fret power chord of the E, and then slide back to the 4th fret on the E. So all together we got, and then it's gonna repeat again. Second time though, we do a little thing that's just ever so slightly different. So on the second go around, we go up here on our 5th fret, and we just slide 5th fret power chord down to the 4th fret power chord on the E. Okay, so altogether, it should be getting, you should be getting this here. First time, second time, slightly different. All that is again is you're just doing a 5 to a 4. Right? So that's the second time. And then third time, now then it just goes back to the exact same riff. So now we're doing the first one again. Okay, and then it literally will finish the riff right there on that 2nd fret power chord of the E. So altogether, the chorus, the first chorus at least, is this. And then we're going to go right back into that that first riff that we did learn. So, you know, run it back in the video if you need help, but you're going to go right back into this. Okay, so the verse is basically the same for the second time around, but we do get in this ever so slight fill that we're playing, kind of going along with like what the bass is doing, I think. So what is the difference really? So, I mean, we come in and we're going to be doing that we learned earlier, but then we get into this of okay, so what is that idea? So we have a 4th fret of our A, and then we have a 3rd fret of the D, and then a 4th fret of the D, back to the 3rd, same string of the D. So, and really try to make that really obvious, so. Okay, and then you get into that chord, you know, the main chords that we're learning here. So, literally, what is this? You have, what is that, a G sharp power chord? So first little bit is, and then you go to that 4th fret power chord, or G sharp, and then play it again, the exact same 4, 3, 4, 3, and then you switch that power chord to a 2nd fret or an F sharp, you know. Do it again. And then you get into that little runner riff of the 2nd, to the 4, to the 6, to the 4. So again, all that little bit is a 4, 3, 4, 3, and then you're just kind of changing that little root and moving that power chord shape around. So that's all the difference is with that second verse. Everything else is the exact same, because then we get into the pre-chorus again, where it's just the, so this is all the same. Nothing changes with the pre-chorus, and then we get into the chorus again, which the chorus stays the same, and then we get into our breakdown and solo section of the song. Okay, let's take a look at the breakdown. So the breakdown of the song, we got a power chord. So we got a 6th fret, right? 6th fret power chord of our E string. That's how we're starting this. So, and we're the strumming pattern of this. I mean, you could strum it however you want. It's really just you're kind of playing rhythm on this. So it's just, and you're doing so 6th fret power chord of the E, and sliding that down to the 4th fret power chord, same string. So all these chords are going to be on your E string, okay? And we're just literally taking the shape, sliding down and up. So 6th fret power chord to a 4th fret power chord to a 2nd fret power chord, and then back up to the 4th fret power chord, and then finishing right in the 6th. So literally we're going. Okay, but then when we get into that second go around of it, so now we're back up here on the 6th fret. We're gonna go up to a 4th fret power chord on our A string, and then finish on the 4th fret power chord of our E string. So on the last go around, it's, and then we get into our little solo. So what is the solo? It's those octave chords again. So we have 8th, and then 8th and 10th, right, of the A string. So, and then this shape, and you're just muting that in between. So that shape is just, you're just keeping this shape, and it's really just sliding literally on the fretboard. So So 8th fret to the 6th fret. And this, again, skipping that in between, and you're just keeping that octave chord or octave note right there. So you're just jumping in between the 8 and the 6 here on the solo. And then you go up to, so you're just jumping in between 8 and 6, okay? And then you're gonna go up to the 9th and 11th. Okay, so all together. Okay, and then just going in between 9 and 8. And then again, kind of repeats on that 8th fret. Down to that 6. And then you finish again with the, and so all that, so the finish is just, so that's just 4th fret to your 6th fret, and then up to the your 8th fret. And again, you're using just the octave, so it's just going to be skipping that in between string and then playing the just 2 frets up on your G. So. And then, you know, if you have 2 guitars, you'd be holding that out, and then your second guitarist would be playing the chorus idea is the exact same. Really, the whole song structure is just, you know, using the power chords and then those octave chords. So once you kind of get that down, that's really the entirety of the Anthem. Thank you guys so much for checking out this guitar tutorial on the Anthem by Good Charlotte. Now, if this helped you out and you were able to learn the song, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and be ready for more future guitar videos. Thanks.